Today's webinar on Aging Well. Allow me to introduce you to the team from East Lancs Hospitals. We've got Sarah McCrossan and her colleague Pauline Almond. Paula, sorry Paula. And away you go. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Can everybody hear me? Just making sure. Brilliant. Okay. I will just reshare my screen again because it just went a bit. There we go. And here we go. So thank you again, everybody, for your time and attending this session today. And basically what I'm come to talk to you about is a little bit of a hybrid of what's happened across Lancashire and South Cumbria with Engineering Better Care, how we've taken that forward and how we've developed a little bit of a sort of speed dating frailty or aging well training. And I say we, I mean the royal we, and again, you know, must give credit to my clinical colleagues at East Lancs and especially Leanne Kinder. So I'm just going to ask Paula, she's just going to talk you through a quick survey. It should only just take you 1 minute, if that's okay, Paula.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've pulled it, this is taken from the initial training that we did within East Lancashire. And it's just a pre-survey around the Aging Well. There's 5 questions, and if you just scan with your phones the QR code, and there's just 5 questions you just need to sort of like quickly have a look at. And if you answer, and then obviously at the end of the webinar, we'll repeat the same survey as a post survey. It's just so we can gather your understanding and see if what Sarah's delivered actually, you know, it's understood.
And it also helps us identify any gaps in this sort of very mini bite-sized session as well, to see if there's anything from your points of view that we could think to include as well, because this is something that we've started, we're just testing and adapting as we go, and we really need that whole system approach and system support as well. So if I just give 2 minutes, is that okay? And then we will crack on.
If anybody does have a problem, I can put the later on, I can put the link as a link if people are having problems.
I can't see the chat because I'm sharing my screen, but I'm sure Paula will help you from the chat if needs be.
If we could pop it in the chat later, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will be monitoring the chat throughout as well. So if anybody's got any questions, if we can wait till the end, and then the team will be able to hopefully answer them for you.
And if we can't, we will certainly get some answers for you. We can take it back to, like I said, Leanne or Caroline Finney, who is our SDEC clinical lead as well. So we've got some really good support to answer any questions or to link in with for any particular focus areas as well moving forward. Just another 50 seconds and then I will move on to the presentation. Okay, I'm going to crack on now, but clearly, you know, the questions you can continue with. Okay, so just a real quick overview of Engineering Better Care, and I'm not sure if anybody on the call was part of the original collaborative, and this was where system partners, acute, primary care, social care, third sector and voluntary organisations and commissioning colleagues got together back in January 2022 to introduce a concept of improvement at a system-wide level. Since the dissolution of the CCGs, etc., we've now got an ICB, and it was a way to test out a system methodology. And it began really with an understand phase, like most improvement methodologies, launching, setting up current state data to creative design thinking, and now we're very closely towards the delivery. It's embedded bedspread and sustain part of it. I picked this piece of work up about late July last year, and since then we've really matured our thinking and hopefully, you know, started to bring on lots more people on board of this programme. And I do have a full set of slides that I'm more than happy to share with anybody across our system around the full extent of that programme. Like I said, we're just at that deliver stage as well. And what's different around engineering better care is we talk about decreasing risk and increasing clarity. And within that, we can become measurably better. But we obviously had to do the understand and the design phase of where we were currently at. And I won't go through every slide because I'm happy for these slides to be shared afterwards as well. So I'll just pick up some key points. So basically, the overview of engineering better care is we needed some guiding principles and linkage to our frailty population. And if I give you a quick overview, there is over 350,000 people in Lancashire and South Cumbria who are or have been identified at possible risk of frailty. And what we wanted to do is understand what that population looked like in the first instance. What are we going to do once we have identified them? And we'll go through that in terms of the Rockwood or the clinical frailty scale. And then so what we're going to do once we've identified them and gave them a category around their current state in terms of their health, and what we're going to do differently, what we're going to signpost to, and how are we going to reduce and avoid attendances to A&E and subsequent admissions into secondary care, which we know, you know, is a very difficult system to get out of once you're in there as well. So creating the current state, we obviously needed some data, and we like to be data driven and improvement. And actually what Aristotle does, and if you've got an NHS email address, you can get access to Aristotle. Don't worry, you can't break the system. Paula and I have been trying for a few months to try and break it, but it's so far unbreakable. So basically what you can do on there is look at care home data, primary care data, and secondary care data as well, and start joining the dots and understanding, you know, what our population, what our local teams, what our PCN place, individual practice level, and what does that actually mean for our population as well. So that's definitely a top tip if you have an NHS email address for us to work with. Again, you know, some of the outputs of the event, we created the speed dating frailty training, or the Aging Well training that we're trying to rebrand through working with our communities. Don't like the word frailty. So we're trying to rebrand it as Aging Well, and we're on that journey at the moment. We created some literature around good practice guidelines, which are nearly ready to be circulated far and wide as well. And that talks about when those opportunities for identification assessment, when to signpost onto different services, whether it is INTs, Age UK, friends and family, carers link, etc., etc. And that's, you know, we're coming at looking and wrapping around holistic services around people, and hopefully earlier in that frailty journey as well. And the poster on the bottom, that's just a bit of a snapshot of the poster that we created. We use design thinking methodology, which enables us to put a picture and a sort of the syndromes around each of those frailty scales as well. And again, the poster is available for anyone to download, print, laminate, put up in clinical, non-clinical areas, and to use as part of the training, education, and embedding our skills and confidence in our teams working with people living with frailty. Just in terms of how we're working together, I've already described quite closely that we're working with primary care, social care, Age UK and place leads. Locally, i.e. Pennine, Lancashire, we've been held a lot of events recently. So we were at Blackburn with Darwin PLT a few weeks ago. We're going to Burnley West in a few weeks, which I probably need to have a chat with Gina around, and other things as well. And we had a summit workshop last Monday where we picked a few of our system partners, including NWAS, Age UK, and, you know, some of those partners, just to talk about what we're going to do differently now we have all this information moving forward to winter. And this is just a national infographic, but as the next weeks come along, we're going to use this and not manipulate it, but maneuver it to our local places as well, so that we understand what services are available before hospital attends and admissions, etc. So, oh, sorry about that. I was just about to introduce the lovely Leanne Kinder. Can I just check that you can hear the video?
You need to play it for me to test it. I can't. Nope, can't hear it. Sorry.
No. Sarah, just come out of it presenting in Teams and try and do it through just the PowerPoint. Does it work this morning?
It did work this morning, so I'll just stop sharing and see if I can. If not, I can talk you through the slides. I've always got a backup plan, so don't worry about that. In 1 second.
Good afternoon and welcome to my presentation on frailty.
Can you hear that now?
Yeah, can hear that now. Thank you. That works.
Yeah. My name is Leanne Kinder and I'm a trainee advanced clinical practitioner within community therapies across ELHT and Blackburn with Darwin. What is frailty and why is it important? Well, frailty is a major cause of hospital admission across the UK, with 4,000 every day. In East Lancashire, 1 in 5 are 65 plus. Frailty is a distinct clinical state where there's a decline in multiple physiological systems and increased vulnerability to minor external stressors. Frailty varies in its severity, and individuals should not be labelled as being frail or not frail, but simply that they have frailty. Frailty, disability, and multimorbidity overlap and interact, but are not synonymous conditions. The literature suggests that the longer an individual is classified as having frailty, the chances of transitioning back to pre-frailty gradually diminishes. However, there is strong evidence to support that frailty can be reversed and is more reversible the sooner it is caught. Currently, there are high attendances for mild to moderate frailty to A&E in our area. Mild to moderate frailty causes higher mortality and morbidity in over 65s. The policy drivers are Right Care 2019, which states that the identification of frailty is the first step in supporting people to live well. The Frailty Framework 2018 talks about 5 key conditions associated with the frailty phenotype. And then Joining the Dots 2023 talks about a coordinated, compassionate, shared vision and implementation plan for frailty. The consensus is that frailty measures are not valid prior to 65 years, and so we are asking you to use the CFS to score all 65 plus people who you see. Firstly, we'll look at the prevalence and overlap of comorbidity, disability and frailty amongst community dwelling men and women 65 plus. Disability is a physical or mental impairment that has a substantially negative effect on the ability to undertake activities. It is a static and stable functional loss. Around 50% of disability in older adults develops chronically and progressively in association with comorbidity and frailty. The remaining 50% of disability in older adults develops after a single event, such as a stroke. Comorbidity is the presence of 2 or more long-term conditions. Whilst most people have frailty, have comorbidity, the majority of those with multimorbidity do not fit the criteria for frailty. Around 25% of older people with frailty have neither comorbidity or disability. Frailty represents a dynamic condition which is characterized by marked fluctuations in function. It can be thought of as an unstable disability. So, early identification of frailty can help support people to get the access to the right care at the right time to enable them to live an independent and healthy life. I love Desmond Tutu's quote here. There comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river, and some of us need to go upstream to find out why they are falling in. This really resonates for me with frailty. So what exactly is frailty and how? So what exactly is frailty and how can it affect people? Well, the Frailty Framework 2018 identifies 5 key conditions associated with the frailty phenotype: falls, immobility, delirium, incontinence, and medication side effects. Individuals may experience starting to feel slowed up with reduced energy, unintentional weight loss, lower walking speeds, and a loss of muscle bulk. They may also feel like it takes longer to bounce back from something simple like a common cold, and one health problem may lead into another. It's important to recognise that polypharmacy is a major cause of emergency admissions, with adverse drug events accounting for 6.5% of all hospital admissions, and the prevalence of delirium in medical inpatients is 20 to 30%. So Right Care 2019 states the identification of frailty is the first step in supporting people to live well. And Joining the Dots discusses this coordinated implementation plan for frailty. And the first steps in this are using the same identification tool across primary and secondary care. Many frailty measures exist, however, the most widely used in the UK, validated and reliable, is the Clinical Frailty Scale, previously known as Rockwood. Identifying frailty in adults at higher risk of adverse outcomes will support practitioners in targeting resource-intensive frailty interventions. The Clinical Frailty Scale is validated for use in all 65 plus, and it can be completed quite quickly. So for documentation on EMIS, the GP practices can use a code, or you can start to type in ROC, which comes up Rockwood CFS, or you can use the scoring within the templates in your area. It can be used by all health professionals, and you need to assess normal functional levels. Therefore, if someone's in hospital or unwell, it may be relevant to assess them 2 weeks prior. You may need to check normal function with relatives or other healthcare professionals, and certainly make sure you get all the information before you make a score. This flow diagram can help you identify when to complete the CFS, and it's built within the Frailty Good Practice Guide, which is available here today. There are lots of reasons that it's important to recognise that somebody's living with frailty. These include prompting early decision making and collaboration with services and care providers, reducing the risk of deconditioning, unnecessary hospital admissions, identifying persons who require anticipatory care planning, reducing the rates of readmission and unsuccessful discharge attempts from hospital, and supporting a getting it right first time approach by identifying people suitable for community intervention and, if they require same day emergency care, via ICAT or IHSS, and identifying the demand and capacity needs required to support the management of frailty in the community and in the hospitals. For a CFS score of 6 or more, we're recommending that you use a comprehensive geriatric assessment. It may be that the CGA is required for lower levels as well. So what is a CGA? The Comprehensive Geriatric Assessment comprises of interdisciplinary and interagency working, which place the patient and their supporters at the heart of their care. It's widely recommended as the gold standard for assessment and management of frailty. Such an approach is usually proactive and logically most relevant when it generates individual problem lists identifying issues and how they can be changed over time in a number of domains. Physical assessment, functional, social and environmental assessment, psychological components and medication review. It's completed by medical healthcare professionals and general practitioners. Depending on the goals or problems identified, the intervention may consist of one or more actions to be delivered by the clinicians and the relevant clinicians available which meet the goals. The key issue is collaboration between the patient, family and carers and the various members of the team throughout the process. The expectation is that the older person and the family will own this process and regard the results of the care plan as their own. A frailty poster has been developed following the Engineering Better Care events, which uses personas of the clinical frailty scale to aid teaching and understanding of the clinical frailty scale elements. It's important to recognise that the clinical frailty scale goes from the marathon runner, the extremely fit individual, to the dying patient. Qualitative data has shown that older people have a strong aversion to the word frailty. Their perception of frailty can act as a barrier for them accessing support and services available for fear of losing their independence. Changing Perceptions in 2015, Britain Thinks undertook qualitative research to explore the perceptions of frailty. This report found that the biggest priority for older people was maintaining independence. Take 5 to Age Well is a new campaign to help people to understand small, everyday things that they can do to help to live well into older age. Research clearly suggests that the lack of good nutritional habits, hydration, physical activity, social and cognitive stimulation cause people with or without chronic conditions to age faster. These are classed as the 5 pillars for aging well. This means we can slow our aging rate by making small changes in these areas that will boost our physical and cognitive health, as well as our well-being. Posters such as this are available for use in the clinical waiting areas. Frailty is a long-term condition that has the capability to take away a person's independence and health. Whilst it's common in older people, it's not an inevitable part of ageing. Early intervention for frailty can help support people to access the right services and the right care at the right time to help them live well and independently and healthy lives. There are a variety of tools to identify frailty, but we are asking you to use the clinical frailty scale on all patients 65 plus. Once identified, a person with frailty can be supported through a comprehensive geriatric assessment, which provides a holistic multidisciplinary review to ensure all potential issues are supported. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the training today.
Fantastic. I think she's just amazing, is our Leanne. She's done such a good job pulling this together. And I thought it worked really nicely, just as, you know, a really short 45-minute webinar that gave you a bit of the background, a little bit of what the training is all about, and hopefully some really good discussions. Before I move on to the next slide, which talks a little bit around the different websites where you can gain some more deeper knowledge and information, and has a lot of the toolkits on. I wanted just to set the scene with a little bit more of our data as well. Again, using Aristotle, and we've been able to sort of pull information together. Paula and I ran an event last Monday for Place Plus, which was Blackburn with Darwen and East Lancashire. And we had over 54,000 attends to our emergency department for people living with frailty in the last 12 months, and that was sort of from early June last year to early June this year. And what was quite stark about that, the big portion of that was mild to moderate frailty. So you wouldn't have expected people coming in with those sort of lower level frailty syndromes into an acute and emergency practice area. But what was really important, 11%, so it was like 3,500 came from care homes as well. So I'm hoping that, you know, over the next sort of 6 months, we can do more webinars with you guys and more engagement and you know, more events and things where we can start getting some good messages. We can hopefully relay the full package around the speed dating frailty training. We've got a trainer model which we're happy to share and send out as well. And again, we've got a plethora of really good practice guides, posters, and a copy of all of the personas broken down. And in the training sessions, we kind of use the pictures and the words separately to match up, just to get people familiar with that. The other part for me as well, if you are a clinically trained person, and I will repeat that I'm not, I felt that the CFS app, which is available for download, and Paula might be able to just add into the chat the instructions on how to download it onto your smartphone or tablet, is a bit of an algorithm, and it gives you a really rough and ready sort of understanding of the CFS. And I do it quite frequently for my nana, and she's 97 and still causing all sorts of carnage all of the time and being very, very bossy, as she should do at her age. But I use the CFS app and with her, and she's scoring an 8. And I was a bit shocked at first because she is quite well, but you know, you can notice a deterioration. And what that helped me to do from a carer, family member point of view was, and being non-clinical, I could then maybe just say, shall we have a chat with the GP? And lovely GPs came out to do some full clinical assessments with her, and start putting a care plan together. I mean, her words about the care plan was, they're planning my demise, to which I was saying, actually what we're trying to do is just make sure that your final years are safe and that you have everything that you need to continue to live at home in your own home for as long as possible. So that was really interesting. Just one more bit of data before I flick over to the next slide and hand back to Paula for a bit of post information questionnaire. I'm very aware that it was a very whistle-stop tour, etc. So might not have all been able to sink in as such, and it wasn't the full sort of 2-hour training package that we normally roll out. But clinical, so attends to our A&E department, again, just for Pennine, Lancashire, over 12 months. For mild to moderate frailty was over 25,000 of the 54,000. So over half of them were coming in with mild to moderate frailty. And our average length of stay for somebody with mild frailty was 10.5 days, where the national average is about 9, and moderate was about 11.4. Again, the national average is about 10. So for our population, as we know, we've got a very different demographics to the rest of the country, and from one extreme to another across our footprint. But it does give some indications on the types of severity that we need to be planning for. And as a health professional, i.e. a manager health professional, it helps me design and build services that are fit for the future. So the final slide that I proposed to share with you today was just references and useful documents. Again, I'll probably just click and copy all this and drop it into the Teams link. But I've already sent a copy of the slides, but I'll resend the slides out. I'm trying to get it to Lisa so that the video plays as well, so you could share it with your colleagues. I'm just not that technically enabled at the moment, but I'm trying my best to get that sorted for you. But these are Leanne and the team's top references and useful documentations as well, around the British Geriatric Society. We use an awful lot, especially as we've developed the regional frailty strategy and framework to move forward for 24, 25 and beyond as well for across our system. And what I think I'll probably just do now is open up for some questions and then bring Paula back in a few minutes just to redo the survey. Does that sound all right? Is that okay with you, Lisa?
That sounds good to me. Sorry, I dropped off halfway through, but I'm back. If anybody would like a copy of the slides, just to pop their email address into the chat bar, and Sarah and I can have a discussion how we'll get them across to you. I have a plan. If you've got any questions as well, just pop them in the chat bar or pop your hand up and we'll get round to you. So thank you.
I guess for me, I've got a question as well before anybody else just jumps in. How was that for people? Was it useful? Is there any gaps in that you think would be really useful to add in? Again, we're looking for people to co-design and move this forward. But again, it's quite hard to get everything in 45 minutes. So yeah, please do look for some feedback, please.
Yeah, it was so certain words were very well used. Like I really like the final years are safe and you got everything that you need, instead of, because it's sometimes a very awkward conversation to have, like end of life or so. Yeah, it's just sometimes like, this is so I know you're going to be in a situation you'd like to be in. So yeah, I got picked up a lot of good words, so thank you. It's pretty good.
I will thank you for that comment. I will certainly let Leanne know, because like I say, she's designed the majority of this piece.
That's for a copy of the poster, Sarah, so I didn't know it's just unaware. Can they download it and share the poster, won't we?
Yeah, I can send that over to Lisa as well if Lisa hasn't already got it, and you can send that out as well. So
yes,
absolutely.
please, if you can.
Yeah.
We've got a question there from Joanne at Cranham. So hi, Joanne.
Hello.
Hi, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just here on behalf of all the care homes really as well, speaking up for them. So just to make you aware, obviously in East Lancashire alone, me and my colleague do a heck of a lot of advanced care planning. We really try our best to keep people out of hospital that don't need to be there. And I just want to put it out there with the figures and the data. that we find it's not the care homes that are sending these frail, elderly, severely frail people into hospital. It's always a MAS crew or a GP or 111. The care homes try their best to keep these residents at home. They really do. So I think I'm just putting it out there. We need to really push this with our MAS colleagues, especially, and our GPs.
Absolutely.
With all due respect.
Yes, no. Obviously, the data that I pull is very, very black and white. But you're absolutely right. We had NWAS with us recently. I know Ross, one of my other colleagues, he's been doing some work around the NWAS conveyance piece. And there's an upskilling part as well, to think IHSS, to think virtual ward. And we've now got a test for change running around hospital at home, which could give IV fluids, IV antibiotics in people's own homes and place of residency as well. So if they were being conveyed for, anything that required that sort of therapeutic input, absolutely. And apologies if it did come across that it was a care home sending in. It's that was where they came from. It was
no,
the message,
it
really.
didn't come across like that, Sarah. I'm just a big voice for care homes, and they really don't send them in. Really, like, they never ring 999 first. They ring everyone else first.
Yeah, and I guess and that's a really good message, and part that things that Paula and I need to take back. We're running a pilot with Burnley West on the 4th of July, where we're actually going to do the whole speed dating frailty training over 4 hours. And I think the outputs of some of that will be the so what question around, what are those pathways? What do they look like? And how can we work better together to de-escalate and demedicalize some of those points as well. So absolutely, and thank you for your comments.
So do we have any more questions? Any more comments? Please feel free to pop your hand up or pop them in the chat. No? Okay then.
I do acknowledge it was quite quick as well. So it was a really speedy, whistle stop tour, really. And I'm sure if you wanted to schedule something later on in the year that might, be a bit longer, we could certainly, support with that. But it was just a bit of a flavour and sharing with our system colleagues, a bit of a let's engage. It's a first step to engaging and doing things together, isn't it? So appreciate how speedy that did come across.
So I just want to share the QR code again for the post survey.
The survey application form she wants.
There we go. And I understand as well, it wasn't the full training. So this is just a bit of a glimpse of the questions that we would probably ask you as well on the full training. So, it might not have been able to change anybody's perspectives. And of course, we've got some expertise on this call as well, who are possibly some of our frailty experts and supporting people on a very daily basis as well. So and none of the education or engagement pieces are to teach Granny how to suck eggs. As of course, this is the same conversations that we have at GP, primary care level, or with our consultants in hospital as well, because you'd actually be quite surprised on some of the scoring audits that we have taken from our medicine for older people wards at East Lancs hospitals as well. So I'll just hand to Paula for a second.
So obviously it's just a pulse questionnaire, so it's from the same questions, but obviously you've had a bit of a quick whistle stop tour through what the training package is about for the speed dating, just to see if it's made any difference to what you knew before we started and what you know now. If you can scan the QR code again and just complete the survey in a couple of minutes. I put both of the surveys into the chat. So if anybody didn't fill the free one out first, it really would appreciate it, because we can take that feedback and learn from that as well.
And of course, some of this is not just about us giving these messages out. And like I said, we are happy to share any of the documentation, any of the posters, the training pack, any of the slide decks, hard copies of the surveys, so you could work with your own teams and feedback on how well your teams have worked with this. We've got a sort of train the trainer pack as well that I'll probably just bring up in a second as well, just to show you how further we go into in depth with some of the other modules as well. So is that all right if I just stop sharing this one now and bring the other pack up for you? So again, it's sort of built, the whole training ethos was built around the e-learning skills for health package, level 1 and level 2. Most of you will be very familiar with it. I know at East Lancs we have made it not mandatory, but it's within the mandatory training bundle for anybody role specific. And from there, we then work with the personas, which we've created. Again, I'll show you those in a second. The CFS app, which again, we would recommend download and have a little play about with, testing different scenarios. We worked with physios and OTs to do some strength-based training and some practical exercises that, you know, we've suggested that primary care, secondary care, care homes do regularly with people. We also had a dietitian that come to the event as well and talked about the different types of nutrition and hydration elements and what that meant. And we had the lovely Gina from Age UK came as well, and we talked a little bit around social inclusion. And I think Rachel, your colleague as well, came with us on our first sort of outing of the event and the training itself. What the trainer model looks like very quickly is empowering subject matter, facilitate learning experience and variety of frailty topics. And we want people to be on the way to becoming experts in frailty identification and assessment at all levels. We give a real brief understanding of the full training on who you need there to help deliver it, who you could think about inviting. You know, we're not saying you must do this. These are just some suggestions from our experiences, how long it takes and the different areas that you need to do and how to plan the event as well. And again, all of the elements of the training is all there free for you to just we can send it over in an email, or we're hoping to get a website on the Lancashire and South Cumbria ICB board SharePoint site so that people can go on and download these as well. But again, you know, it's something that we've designed as a system and system partners that we want to if people feel interested in using. So yeah, the personas, for example, clinical frailty scale, which Leanne talked through. This is the CFS app and how to download it. Again, you know, Paula might be able to just pop the A4 sheet into the chat for you there, or we can send it to Lisa.
Yes, please.
Yep.
Yeah, I've tried to put it in, it won't drop in.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll send it to Lisa, and Lisa can you can share with everybody. None of us are precious about any of the documents. We send them to you in a format that you can change as well and put your own logos on and your own, you know, spiel on as well. Again, just, you know, they're there for guidance for you guys to localize as well. Like I said, the good practice guidelines, we were just having some tweaks from Dr. Andrew Weatherburn, who is the ICB's clinical frailty expert lead, and he just had some comments and updates on that. But we'll send it out to Lisa once it's been ratified. Again, we talk in terms of the strength training, and we had some physios, OTs and assistants that talked an awful lot through this area as well, and the fact sheets. And, you know, again, we had loads of handouts to give to people. Like I said, the nutrition and hydration and where we would recommend people to go for further learning. And yeah, we used obviously Blackburn with Darwin when we were over in those areas, and the East Lancashire teams as well, who were absolutely lovely to work with. And again, I'll send that sort of set of slides over to you so you can use, misuse, or whatever in the future. So yeah, I know it was a very quick whistle-stop tour for you guys. And again, you know, we'd be happy to be welcome back to do a bit of a more fuller session. And I'm sure I could bring one of my clinical colleagues if you feel that that would be helpful.
Thank you, Sarah. I'd like to say on behalf of everybody on today, a big thank you to Sarah and Paula for all the information that they've given us. Anybody that is watching after the live event, so to speak, if you do want any of the documents, you can email mbpcc.lscsocialcare@nhs.net, and that will be on the YouTube channel as well. We're all going on YouTube, so anybody needs anything from us, please email us on that address. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording now, so bear with me, unless anybody's got any extra questions. No. Okay, thank you.